Outside, alongside of him, will be SCCA's Peter Revson. Revson finished third last week, so he's well back this week. USAC's Bobby Unser, the second place finisher, goes to the back of the pack inside, and he'll be thoroughly tested there. And starting dead last will be Mark Donahue, the man who won the first race, and driving this week a battered automobile. So those are the champions you'll be watching today in the second leg of this 4-race championship series in our effort to determine which of these men is the most versatile and which man is perhaps deserving of the right to be called the real superstar of motorsports. I have working with me a superstar of motorsports, a man who won more Grand Prix championships than any man ever, 27 of them, from Scotland, Jackie Stewart. Jackie, we ought to have something akin to a small war out there with Mark Donahue in the back of the pack and Fittipaldi up front.
This is going to be some kind of motor race, because this is really a new format for motor racing. This is the first time, in my opinion, that real show business has come into motor racing, Keith, and I think it's a great thing. We're really into a great series here.
The impressive thing in the first race, I thought, one of the most impressive was the performance of David Pearson.
This has been very encouraging, because I think the stock car drivers went into this series to begin with some reserve. I think they were a little nervous. Now, David Pearson has shown, of course, that he's a great driver. We never expected anything else, and I think it was great that he was so far up there when, unfortunately, he did run into trouble. But he was in third place. He had earned it properly, and he had driven a wonderful race on a road course in a car, in the type of motor car that he's not used to driving. Of course, we did expect this because he is a champion.
Now, we have a very interesting circumstance here involving Mark Donahue, the very well-tailored, well-organized, totally disciplined young man who won 12 points in the first race. He starts last today. Now, how much gambling will he do, do you think? What would be your posture if you were in his position?
I think he won't charge in at the beginning of the race, Keith. Mark is a very calculated driver, as you point out. We saw George Follmer start from the back of the grid last week in the first race. He got right up there into 4th or 5th position, and this shows that Mark Donahue can do exactly the same thing. But I expect him to take a few more laps to do it. I expect him to put up the sort of performance that Fittipaldi did last week in sort of edging his way through with calm precision.
Okay, Jackie. We're just about ready for the start of race number 2, and I think we should make this point as well, that people like Richard Petty, Bobby Unser, Bobby Allison, in fact, all of them are now getting the feel of the cars a little more. They're getting to know the track a little more. It's going to be something. As our 12 champions now move off the starting grid, we have listed the potentials for you. And to sum it up succinctly, the potential is for excitement in the second International Race of Champions. As we look down on the Riverside International Raceway from the Goodyear blimp, I think you can tell it's another hot day as we go into the second race for our international champions. The automobiles are all Porsche Carreras, made especially for this racing series in Stuttgart, West Germany, and every effort made to provide racing equipment that is as comparable as possible. The pace car is now out of sight. We should get a rolling start as they come down out of turn number 9. The green flag is in the hand of the starter, and we are ready to go racing. Emerson Fittipaldi in the white Porsche goes out in front. Bobby Allison in the pink car is in second place. Gordon Johncock in the yellow car moves up now, and he may hold second place as they work their way through the S's. David Pearson's driving the dark blue car. Roger McCuskey is in the medium blue, and it's Richard Petty back there in the purple. Jackie Stewart, as the field works its way, stringing out a little bit through the S's and heading into the turns. I look at your face, and I have the feeling you might like to be out there.
Keith, this is just the kind of motor race I'd love to be in, but as you know, I've retired from motor racing altogether, and as a driver, of course, I can't compete, but I would love to be in there. All the drivers are having such a good time that really I'm very jealous. As a matter of fact, Keith, there's one more thing here. There's a couple of backup cars been put in for this week's race because Emerson Fittipaldi's car was quite badly damaged after his small excursion last week, and in fact, the beige car is no longer in the race. They put a light green car in that Mark Donahue's driving, and of course, George Follmer's now in a black car. These are both backup cars.
The field very tightly bunched as they head toward the straightaway.
Now, Emerson Fittipaldi's on the right-hand side of the screen, Keith. He shouldn't be doing that. He must have missed a gear change or something. It's slowing him down because, in fact, the field are passing him. 2 cars, 3 cars.
Gordon Johncock, Bobby Allison, David Pearson, all pass. Emerson Fittipaldi, and it must be the fact that he did miss a gear because he seems to be running all right. Those three automobiles did go whistling by him, and as they sweep out of turn number 9, the leader is Gordon Johncock, followed by Bobby Allison, David Pearson, Emerson Fittipaldi, Richard Petty, Roger McCluskey.
Both of them, two together, round there, side by side. Very, very close motor racing. In fact, they're touching. They're really touched there. It's very close racing.
And in the process of swapping the door handles, Bobby Allison takes the lead, and Gordon Johncock almost lost it in the dirt. And he drops back into the pack.
Any small mistake of this kind, and of course you lose a lot of time, a lot of dust in the air there from the time that he did do his little sand dance.
Bobby Allison, the leader, David Pearson behind him. Fittipaldi regaining third place, Richard Petty, Roger McCluskey, and Gordon Johncock. Denny Hulme and A.J. Foyt making a move up through the pack.
I'm a little bit disappointed here. I thought Mark Donoghue might have made a move earlier, but in fact he's staying very close to the end of the field. I wonder if Mark's okay, because I really expected him to just get up a little bit further, Keith.
As they again head for the back straight, the long straightaway, it's interesting to note that they averaged 101 plus miles an hour in the first race last week. The speed at the end of the first lap this week, a little slower, about 98 miles an hour.
This is, of course, not a real flying lap, so I think we're going to see the speeds going back up again. But, I mean, beautiful formation there. Mark's still at the back end, but up front there's good motor racing.
Bobby Allison, David Pearson, Emerson Fittipaldi, Richard Petty, Roger McCluskey, Gordon Johncock, Denny Hulme, and A.J. Foyt. Keith Jackson and Jackie Stewart at Riverside International Raceway in Southern California. The World Series of Automobile Racing, the International Race of Champions, and two NASCAR drivers battling going into turn number 9. Bobby Allison in the purple car, David Pearson blue car, hit the brakes simultaneously. Pearson will have to back off coming out of turn 9. It's too tight coming out of that long sweeping turn, and Bobby Allison should hold the lead. Emerson Fittipaldi out of Formula One Grand Prix Racing is holding a tight third position as they sweep down across the start-finish line.
Fittipaldi's in a pretty good position here because he's in a position that if either of them make a mistake, he should be able to take advantage of it, because these two are very close and obviously really playing Tiger.
Two stock car drivers who spent a lot of miles and a lot of hours battling each other, and they're as hard-headed as any. Pearson is off the track in the dirt. Allison's in the dirt.
They're both off the track, but they've kept it on. This is terrific. To be able to keep a car in this is great. Pearson's in the lead now, but to keep them together under those circumstances is really great.
Brute strength and leave a pall of smoke and dust behind them, and the rest of the field works its way through all right. So David Pearson in the blue car has the lead with Bobby Allison right behind him. Fittipaldi backed up a little bit that time, Jackie, I think, to give these two other fellas a chance to do their thing.
They're going pretty steady around there. Fittipaldi having a good long look at them in any case, which is what he wants to do. And two cars are in the boondocks. Two cars are off.
That's Gordon Johncock in the yellow car, and the other one is Richard Petty. Petty keeps his moving. Johncock came to a dead stop. Now he gets back in, and you see Gordon's car caved in on the right side, so they will drop back to the last position. Gordon Johncock will trail the field, and Richard Petty will be running in the number 11 position. 12 champions, and up in front the battle continues with David Pearson in the blue car. In first place, Bobby Allison second, Emerson Fittipaldi, and the Goodyear blimp providing our view from high in the sky over the Riverside International Raceway. As a result of Petty and Johncock having their tangle, George Follmer has moved up into a fourth position. Roger McCluskey is also up in there, and Richard Petty now wobbling again out on the racetrack.
Looks like he had some sort of trouble there. Looks like he could have had a problem. He's going into the pits. Maybe I'll try and get down to the pits, Keith, and see what's all about.
All right, Jackie, in the meantime, up front, the three leaders continue to stretch it out. Pearson, Allison, and Fittipaldi. George Follmer coming along there. Down in the pits with Richard Petty, here's Jackie.
Johncock ran into me going over number 7 there. I guess he locked the brake up or something. Anyhow, he run right through the side of it.
You burst a tire, you bend a fender. What's the, is the car handling okay apart from that?
Everything's okay except for that, you know.
Okay, Richard.
All right, Jackie, in the meantime, the battle goes on between the stock car drivers. It is Bobby Allison getting out of shape, and Pearson goes back into the lead. So Bobby Allison showing just muscle, just brute strength there, holding that car as he's screaming along through those curves at about 100 miles an hour. That's Mark Donahue in the pits. Mark Donahue, who started last, and a backup car is in the pits. So Mark Donahue is out of it. The leader is Pearson, followed by Allison, Fittipaldi, and Follmer. We've had another change in the running order. David Pearson has the lead. Emerson Fittipaldi now has moved into second place, and George Follmer has taken over third place. Bobby Allison, after 3 trips into the dirt, having some trouble. He's dropping back. He is in fourth place. That's the way we stand right now at the International Race of Champions. We'll be back shortly, but right now, let's go to Bob Beatty in Havana. As we resume our coverage of the International Race of Champions here at Riverside International Raceway, David Pearson has the lead. Emerson Fittipaldi is right behind him, and Fittipaldi hanging right in the draft, may be in a posture here to take a run at him as they move down toward the S's. And Fittipaldi in the white car goes past David Pearson, who's driving the blue car, and the Formula One Grand Prix champion of 1972 has the lead in our second International Race of Champions event. Peter Revson there in the red car, now moving up on Roger McCluskey, and he goes by him, and now Peter Revson has moved into the number 6 position. So what we've got leaders, and then we've got a following group, so they're kind of running in bunches so far in the race today, Jackie.
Yes, Emerson Fittipaldi there's getting a bit of a clean road now. He's had the opportunity of getting this before and has been passed, as we've seen, but I think that Fittipaldi is a clean driver. He's a very steady driver. This is the kind of motor racing he should do well in now.
Emerson Fittipaldi broke from the pole on this race after finishing last in the first race. So as he came into this event, he had only 1 point. And remember, points are so very vital because the top 6-point totals will make the finals at Daytona. Peter Revson running after A.J. Ford. Before the race, Jackie talked with Peter.
Jackie, you know, it seems like if it were a game of dominoes, I'd want to win. And you consider this before you even enter. You know, you're not going to get out there just to give account of yourself. You want to go out to win. And I thought about this before I accepted it. And I knew if once I did accept it, I was committed to doing my very best. So that's what I'm going to do.
And I'll tell you one thing, Jackie, once the engine turns over, I don't think there's a racing driver in the world who doesn't become immediately competitive regardless of any apathy you might have had coming in.
Now, racing drivers, I think, are one of the most competitive characters in the world of sport because it's a very individualistic business and racing drivers are hotly competitive, but there's a bit of business going on in there.
David Pearson getting a little loose as he chases Emerson Fittipaldi. Emerson in the white car, and here comes George Follmer going by David Pearson, and George is in second place. What a charger he is.
He's really come up. He's really driven very hard. This is the kind of driving that George Follmer is famous for, and he's certainly putting up a great show today. Emerson's a little bit untidy there, as a matter of fact, and George has certainly caught them all up.
Here are your 3 leaders, Fittipaldi, Follmer, and Pearson. Bobby Allison is running in 4th place. A.J. Ford, Peter Revson, Roger McCluskey are 5, 6, and 7.
Follmer seems to use a tighter line through there as well. He really is pushing them hard now. Follmer's the man we're going to have to watch for this moment. And Emerson Fittipaldi's on the right-hand side of the screen again. This is exactly the same move as he made on the first lap when he lost those positions. It seems to me that he's again missed a gear. There's a problem in this situation. He's either making mistakes or he's having difficulty, and he's passed. George Follmer's got past him.
And David Pearson riding Follmer's draft also goes by him. So that mistake cost Emerson Fittipaldi dearly. Peter Revson there in the red car. Roger McCluskey in the blue car. McCluskey is running along in 7th place right now. And McCluskey's sideways, and he's on the fence.
Roger McCluskey went wide there. I don't understand why he went wide. Perhaps we can see this in slow motion because it's not the sort of place you go off. He started to lose it, and he's spinning, as you can see, broadside across the road. He reverses along the road, then kisses the fence with the front end of the car, comes back across the road right in front of Bobby Unser. He's just missed him. Now, Bobby Unser is one of the fastest drivers in America today. The fastest qualifier in USAC racing, has been driving a steady race today, but just missed this car at this time.
And Roger McCluskey obviously is gone from this race. Now, looking at the points and the potential points, Roger McCluskey had 5 in the first race, and he's in trouble. And as a matter of fact, there are 4 fellows who may be in some troubles in making the finals, because the top 6 point totals will go to Daytona. And the men in trouble right now are Gordon Johncock, Roger McCluskey, Richard Petty, and Bobby Allison. The inside at the end of the straight takes a ride, and he passes Bobby Allison.
He's passing Bobby Allison, but let's look at this again, if possible, from a different angle, because this is in fact a real problem of passing where you have identical performance cars. This different angle shows A.J. Foyt coming in the draft at the end of the straightaway, the only place that he can pass. He snookers Allison. He gets inside Allison and he goes down into the corner. With identical performance engine power in these kind of cars, it's very difficult to find a place to pass.
And we're back as A.J. Foyt runs in 4th position. George Follmer, the leader, followed by David Pearson and Emerson Fittipaldi in our World Series of Automobile Racing.
We'll have more later, but now let's join Howard Cosell for this exclusive from Deer Lake, Pennsylvania.
Fittipaldi has moved past David Pearson, is now running in 2nd place. The leader is George Follmer in the black car. A.J. Foyt is running 4th. Bobby Allison 5, Peter Revson 6, followed by Bobby Unser, Denny Hulme, Gordon Johncock, Richard Petty. Out of the race, Roger McCluskey and Mark Donohue. And 5th place is at stake now as the battle develops on the straight between Peter Revson and Bobby Allison.
Yep, we've got Peter Revson coming up inside of Bobby Allison on the entrance to turn 9. He's done it again, the same old trick most of them have been doing, drafting up there into turn 9, and Peter Revson takes it through there, a clear advantage established now in 5th place. But up front, we have Emerson Fittipaldi going wide in turn 6. David Pearson's come alongside. This is the race for 2nd and 3rd place. They've come out of turn 6, but that was a very close shave.
Jackie, they're going to go into turn number 7, which is a very difficult part of the course. They're going very hard, and they're wheel to wheel, and Fittipaldi loses it for a moment, bangs into Pearson. Fittipaldi is off the track. Pearson hangs on, and David is in 2nd place. Emerson with a problem in the dirt. Put on too much power, spun it a 2nd time, fights his way back on the track, and believe it or not, the leaders had such a lead on the rest of the field that Emerson Fittipaldi hangs on to 3rd place, but obviously has lost a great deal of distance to David Pearson. So Pearson is now 2nd, almost all alone, and Fittipaldi could get some pressure later from A.J. Foyt and from Peter Revson. Jackie, analyze what happened for us.
Well, on the exit of turn 6, they came along that piece of track side by side and entered turn 7 where the arrow is. On the entrance to turn 7, you've got to brake pretty severely. I believe that Fittipaldi's experiencing the same sort of braking troubles as he had when he had his accident last week. Fittipaldi put the brakes on. I don't think the front brakes have worked because the rear brakes have locked up. He sort of sideswipes David Pearson as he enters turn 7. The car hits Pearson, comes in contact. Pearson collects it, but Fittipaldi is overcommitted for that corner. He tries to power the car round the corner. He just doesn't make it. He gets onto the marbles, the car begins to spin, and of course he gets to the outside of the racetrack. But I really do believe his front brakes did not work.
So the running order right now is George Follmer, David Pearson, Emerson Fittipaldi, A.J. Foyt, Peter Revson, and Bobby Allison. The finish is in sight. We'll be right back. And George Follmer of Arcadia, California, representing SCCA Road Racing, has a huge lead over 2nd place David Pearson, Emerson Fittipaldi farther back in 3rd place. Peter Revson has slipped past A.J. Foyt to run 4th now. A.J. is running 5th. Bobby Unser got past Bobby Allison. He is in 6th place. Allison running 7th. Denny Hulme is 8th. A lap down, Richard Petty and Gordon Johncock, Roger McCluskey and Mark Donohue are watching from the sidelines. They are out of the race. But George Follmer has driven himself a heck of a car race. Here you see David Pearson way back there in 2nd place, and the white car just coming around in view is Emerson Fittipaldi.
What a wonderful race George Follmer's had. He's had a great day. Mind you, he's had a lot of experience in this kind of motor car. But at the 1972 Can-Am champion really has shown his experience. Of course, he went to Europe in 1973 and raced there a lot. He's a very experienced driver in all categories of racing. And here he is on the very last lap in turn 9. Must be very content. He's kept out of trouble. He's driven very smoothly, and he's brought the car home in one piece. A very happy man. This is a very important race for him. He's picking up points that he desperately needs, and he comes up to the finishing line to take the checkered flag for 1st position.
And we have that fight for fourth place continuing as A.J. Foyt in the green car on the left takes a run at Peter Revson in the red car on the right. Fourth place and a lot of points at stake right here, and Peter shuts the door on him and shuts him out. So David Pearson in the blue car here comes along for second place. Emerson Fittipaldi in the white car finishes third. Peter Revson will take fourth. A.J. Foyt will finish in fifth position. And he will be followed then by Bobby Unser, Bobby Allison, Dennis Holmes, Gordon Johncock, Richard Petty. Roger McCluskey and Mark Donahue then will trail the field as they went out of it. We had 10 cars running at the finish. George Follmer right here, the winner. And remember, the rotation of the drivers in the third elimination race, and incredibly, George Follmer will start his third successive race next week at the back of the pack. George now totals 21 points, and he leads in the point total.